Galaxy This Morning लाइभमा यहाँलाई फेरि पनि स्वागत छ। तपाईले हामीलाई 6:30 बजे हेर्नु भएको थियो भने अब सरदार म तपाईको सामु आएका छौं, तर अहिले विशेष संवाद लिएर के कसो
एकदम सही हो समीर। हामी अघि ग्यालेक्सी न्यूजमा जानुभन्दा अगाडि छोटकरीमा समीरले आजका हाम्रा पाहुनाको बारेमा भनेका थिए र हाम्रा पाहुना हामीसँग आइसक्नु भएको छ। उहाँको लागि तयार पारेको एउटा छोटो इन्ट्रोडक्टरी भिडियो एकचोटि हेरौं।
र्यान्डी बेरी नेपालका लागि अमेरिकी राजदूत हुनुहुन्छ। सन् 1993 देखि कूटनीतिज्ञका रूपमा कार्यरत बेरीले अमेरिकी विदेश मन्त्रालयका विभिन्न पदमा रही विदेशमा 20 वर्षभन्दा लामो समय बिताउनु भएको छ। वाशिंटन डीसीमा लोकतन्त्र, मानवाधिकार तथा श्रम सम्बन्धी ब्युरोमा दक्षिण तथा मध्य एसियाका लागि डेप्युटी असिस्टेन्ट सेक्रेटरीका रूपमा काम गरिसकेका बेरी सन् 2018 देखि नेपाल आउनु भएको हो। राजदूत बेरीको यो दोस्रो नेपाल बसाइ हो। यसअघि उहाँ सन् 2007 देखि 2009 सम्म काठमाडौँ स्थित अमेरिकी दूतावासमा डेप्युटी चीफ अफ मिसनको पदमा कार्यरत हुनुहुन्थ्यो। एलजीबीटीआई व्यक्तिहरूको मानवाधिकार सम्बन्धी अमेरिकी विदेश मन्त्रालयका प्रथम विशेष दूतका रूपमा समेत काम गरिसकेका तिनै नेपालका लागि अमेरिकी राजदूत र्यान्डी बेरी आजको हाम्रो अतिथि हुनुहुन्छ।
एकदमै हाम्रा अतिथि हामी सामु आइसक्नु भएको छ। म उहाँलाई स्वागत गर्न गइरहेको छु। वेलकम टु द शो, योर एक्सलेन्सी।
Thank you. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
The whole time when I was watching that introductory video, I was thinking our first sit down like this 3 years ago, when you were starting, let's say starting your tenure then, and now here we are. You know, I wanted to ask you, what is the difference in the feeling then and now, while you're starting and now while you're leaving?
Amazing how quickly that time has passed. And as I was watching that collage of photos, if you'll notice, one really important thing is when I look the happiest is when I am not in a suit, when I'm out in the visiting a site or interacting with people. That's a much happier thing. And I would say that that's one of the big differences. Obviously, a great deal of my tenure since I saw you last has been consumed by management of the COVID period where we were all spending too much time at home. So for me, a big piece, particularly over the last several months, up to a year now, has been as the COVID pandemic has lessened. It really allows us to get back to doing the things that I really love about this, and that's getting out and meeting people. So it's that interactive part that's really wonderful to be back at.
So I mean, you spent over 4 years now.
4 years.
Almost full 4 years here, and we have heard a lot of good things about you. What would be something that you remember while working? I know there are many memories, but what would be something that really stands out for you in the last 4 years working as the ambassador to Nepal?
Samir, that's almost an impossible question to ask because there are so many. And again, I don't have many stark memories of sitting in my office or chairing meetings. But what I do remember is when I've had that opportunity to get out. Even despite COVID, I managed to get all across the country. It's those interactions with human faces and human stories that I find really, really compelling, and those will have, I think, the biggest lasting impact. Of course, getting out and seeing the mountains or the incredible scenic beauty of the country is remarkable, but it really pales in comparison to really just establishing that human connection.
Fair enough.
I guess I'm not going to leave you with that question. Just asking the same question in a different version again. What are the things that even when you're not here physically as an ambassador, but will still be connected to the things that you have started, what would be those things that will still keep you connected with Nepal?
Well, there are several. I care very deeply about environmental policy and climate change mitigation. So, we had I had a wonderful chance to work on that a bit during my tenure here, to get up to Rara Lake, for example, and see some of the extreme, vulnerabilities that climate change presents. So that's going to be one. But really, where my heart is at is with, expressions of culture here. So art, cultural celebrations, jatras. Those types of things, and including the preservation of those is something that's really close to my heart, and that will also keep me, coming back to Nepal, and also keep me engaged on those issues that I really care about.
Samir, a quick follow-up. While you're talking about jatras and our art and artifacts, what about? I think you are very much into bringing back the stolen our
relics and artifacts.
Artifacts. How will you move forward in this matter in the days to come?
Thank you for asking about that. early on in my tenure, I became very acquainted with this tremendous cultural loss that Nepal had experienced in the 1980s and before. So we set about trying to put together a response based not on just saying the right thing, but actually doing the right thing. So we partnered with law enforcement agencies in the UN, managed to bring back a couple of really significant returns, including the Lakshmi Narayan back to Patan's Durbar Square. And what we've seen since then has been nothing short of amazing, because of the public attention that was shown on that. We are tracking dozens upon dozens of returns, all coming back voluntarily. And I can tell you one of the most incredible images that I'm going to carry with me was being in Patan's Durbar Square when the Lakshmi Narayan was reinstalled into its home. And so not seeing it in a sterile museum behind a pane of glass and security, but right back at the heart of the community where it belongs. So that's incredibly powerful. So I will find a way, you know, when I'm no longer an official, to really continue to support those efforts to preserve and make sure that art and culture are maintained here.
Thank you.
No, this has shown when you did the Gaddi Baitak renovation, also the embassy was very much involved in that. The government was obviously helping to the embassy. So what do you think the role of friends like yourselves have in basically helping us maintain our cultural identity?
I think the role of any outside organization, country, individual is to just really focus on resources, because all of the know-how, all of the capacity, all of the knowledge is here. You know, that our main job is making sure that facilitation or resources are not the barrier to that being done. So I believe that, you know, by providing lines of support and just allowing the artisans, the architects, you know, the communities really to do the work that they want to do. I think that aspect of making sure that it's locally driven is absolutely fundamentally important. So, you know, with any of these, we don't make the decisions on what's being done. That's all handled by Nepali artisans and craftspeople. But I've had the chance now over 4 years, even since Gaddi Baitak, to see new projects that we have supported come back in these amazing sort of expressions of artistry, including most recently the octagonal Krishna temple in Patan's Durbar Square. So I'm filled with a great deal of pride when I see these monuments, you know, back in their most beautiful state. It fills me with pride. So I can't imagine, you know, how that must be received within those communities.
You know, I relate to Your Excellency as somebody who has been here even before and is related to Nepal, enjoys everything about Nepali culture, art, people, everything. So COVID has hard hit everybody economically, the entire world. And when we talk about this, now we talk about bringing back tourism and, you know, economically helping ourselves. And when somebody is outside the country and they think about new country, they're a bit skeptical also to go to a new country. What would you, if you have to describe Nepal to your fellow Americans, how would you describe them to Nepal, or why should they come to Nepal as a tourist?
I would say to meet the people and experience the culture. I think that's not always what people come to Nepal for, because mountains, you know, I think is always, you know, the thing that is foremost in people's minds. So I would tell them that Nepal is a place of great natural beauty, but in fact it's a place of great cultural and human beauty as well. And to make sure that you're finding time to experience that as well. Because I've often said, you know, the mountains often bring people here for the first time, but it is not what brings them back the second, third, fourth. You know, it's that interpersonal interaction that I think is incredibly important.
You know, you're saying that the COVID pandemic, you know, the last 2 years has destroyed a lot of different activities around the world. But U.S. Embassy has been continuously helping Nepal. What are the areas you think in the coming years that you would want to have the embassy and the U.S. government continue helping Nepal with?
You know, going back to the COVID pandemic, one of the things I am proudest of is our hard work in the face of really a global challenge is to get good quality American vaccines here to help Nepal, who now has a higher vaccination rate than my own country. I'm incredibly proud that we were able to achieve that. Looking forward, I think that as I've had a chance to talk to young Nepalis especially, is, everybody is looking for opportunity, is looking for a way to realize their true potential. So I think that there is a great deal to be done in economic policy and in promotion of trade links between the United States and Nepal, because I think once you get that engine going, it's going to provide that degree of opportunity for these young people, so they don't have to go to the Gulf or in search of their dreams, outside of this country. One sector where I've been really impressed is in the technology sector, where you have, I think, some really great small models now who are starting up, who are turning Nepal's historic disadvantage of being landlocked and on the other side of the world from the American market, are now turning that into an advantage of using the time zone differences to operate truly 24-hour-a-day businesses that are joint American and joint Nepali. That, to me, is really exciting.
Your Excellency, we still have a lot of things to ask you or to discuss, but for right now, it's time for a short break. So, अहिलेलाई हाम्रा पाहुनासँग हामी कुराकानी त गर्ने नै छौं, तर अहिलेलाई पनि एउटा छोटो ब्रेकको समय भएको छ।
ब्रेक पछि यहाँलाई फेरि पनि स्वागत छ। यहाँ हेर्दै हुनुहुन्छ ग्यालेक्सी दिस मर्निङ लाइभ र आज हाम्रा विशेष अतिथि नेपालका लागि अमेरिकी राजदूत महामहिम ऱ्यान्डी बेरी हुनुहुन्छ र उहाँसँग हामी कुरा गर्दैछौँ। Your Excellency, now moving forward with the conversation, you have been here. Again, I go back to my first question I asked earlier. You were here for 4 years. You were very instrumental in doing a lot of good things for Nepal. Now you'll be moving ahead to another designation, another responsibility. What are some of the takeaway memories that you'll take from Nepal as you move outwards?
It's really a series of snapshots. I thought, the collage, in fact, that you played at the outset really reminded me of a few key events. But I think, the things that really stick out in my mind is, for example, seeing the Indra Jatra from the steps of Gari Baitak
Yes.
after the restoration really seared into my memory. The opportunity to go out to Bhaktapur and watch the Biscuit Jatra being observed, on multiple occasions, pretty amazing. That exhilaration of seeing, the Annapurna range from a high vantage point outside of Pokhara, absolutely majestic. And then having the chance to see the cultural treasures that reside in Nepal's furthest reaches, up in Mustang, for example, completely culturally diverse, has been another really stark image in my mind.
Your Excellency, his question was, how will you remember Nepal? And you mentioned that. Now, how will Nepal remember their ambassador to Nepal, Randy W. Berry? How will they remember?
Well, I'm not sure I get to define that, but if I did, I would really hope that I could be seen in human terms. I think that although, in policy and program, I think we have had some real successes and moved our relationship forward, that really I hope I'm remembered in a way that is tangible to the person on the street. I think that's why we've invested so much and why I've felt very comfortable in expressing the human side of my character and the stuff that I really enjoy, which is, observing religious festivals and really walking the streets of Kathmandu and getting out, that is how I hope I would be remembered, as someone who is approachable, who has a deep affection for Nepal. Yeah, I think in many ways I'm really sad about leaving. I know that we've had, it's time for me to go, but I'm very, very sad to be missing all of those opportunities that I know are just around the corner.
Just staying along with the same line, you have seen different countries, you have seen different parts of the globe as in your job, in your position, Now, Nepal, you have seen it previously, also in the last ambassador stint, 4 years, right? What do you think we should do, probably even better than what we're doing now, if we want to really move up as a nation? What would your observation be? What would your advice be?
My advice would be the same for any country, including my own, and that is how we prepare the next generation to lead.
Right.
I think that investment in economic structures, in, again, cultural preservation, in accountable political systems, that really sets the stage for Nepal's next generation, for her young people to really thrive and benefit. I am so incredibly hopeful about Nepal's future, and I'm mainly hopeful because of all of those people that I've met who are younger than the average, who are incredibly energetic in their ideas, in their expression, in their pride of being Nepalese. That I think that we serve the country best by serving their interests best. So I think that's a really dynamic, interesting idea.
Being a diplomat in this country, do you think Nepal is handling their diplomatic relationship in a good way? Or is there some kind of suggestions, or maybe if we do it this way it would be better? Anything off the top of your head?
I think there is great value in maintaining strong positive relationships with all of Nepal's neighbors and friends. I think that one of the things that I have always objected to is the idea somehow that Nepal has only a finite ability to have positive relationships. I think Nepal's policy of friendship towards all, conflict towards none, is a very sound principle. I think that the expression of that I think is incredibly important. That good relationships are not a tangible zero-sum asset. That the more you give, the more you get, and I think that continues, and it's quite possible to have this really positive environment surrounding Nepal by all of its friends.
Have you seen certain, in the last, let's say, 1 year or so, have you seen some bit of a shift in the way Nepali politics is moving forward? What's your kind of take on this one? Have you seen certain change compared to when you came here like 4 years ago?
I think there's a lot of dynamism and a lot of debate and conversation going on right now. And I think especially if you take a look at how younger Nepalis are forming their political ideas, that it's really challenging our notion of how people obtain information, what they do with that information, and then also how they perceive their ability to participate in the political process. I think that's exciting, and I think wherever you see greater political participation by younger people, that's obviously a wonderful thing that we're seeing, because they're investing themselves in the decisions and in deciding also on those who will lead them.
Okay.
A bit shift on our topic, because when you're here, and I see that you're also, for other people who are not here, I see that you're also ambassador for Nepal on the things, if they want to come to Nepal. So if I ask you things about Nepal, and if you mention it, then people will take it more seriously than Nepali telling those things. So few questions, rapid fire. Let's say, Samir, you could add the questions if you want. One word answer.
One word answer.
Yeah.
I'll do my best.
Favorite place in Nepal?
Boda.
Okay.
And food? Don't say momo. No momo.
No, he can say anything you want.
Dal bhat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show?
This Morning Live.
This Morning Live, yes, exactly. This is the only show I watch every day.
That was the motive of my question. And other questions?
No, I think I'm very happy. But I wanted to, because this is a topic because you are bringing in a different angle, which I like. Now, you are also an American citizen. Like many young people, many young Nepalis, like my daughter, are now either going to the US or are already in the US for studies. What does the US continue to offer, even post the pandemic, for young Nepali minds wanting to go there? Have things changed?
I don't think things have changed.
Okay.
I think one thing that is true from that has been the case for many years is the U.S. offers world-class education. There's no place that can outshine U.S. institutions. I think also because of our own experience as a diverse nation, there is a nature of welcoming, even in some of the most remote places where one might not expect to find that. I think that we have a good history of embracing that which is different, of welcoming foreign students to our shores, and really enriching ourselves from that experience as well, in terms of saying that we learn from those cultural interactions, we learn about diversity from those exchanges. That is only positive for my country as well, I think, as for the student who is getting the value of a world-class education.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention, because the reason I'm asking is because there's a U.S. Education fair happening today, U.S. College Education Fair happening today at Marriott. I think a lot of students, young minds would want to go and check it out, I think, at Marriott. So.
Okay.
Indeed.
Thank you for mentioning that. Your Excellency, you have now within these 4 years and even your tenure before that, have understood how Nepali people take Americans or US citizens. How do US citizens, or let's say Americans, take Nepali people?
I think Americans generally react, especially when they have the chance to come here, with great curiosity, with great wonder, and I think the capacity to learn. My feeling is that for so many Americans who come here for the first time, again, there's a very positive, warm embrace, but it's not deeply informed yet. But I mean, that's the nature of learning, right? That their opportunity to come here to interact with people really deepens their understanding of culture, language, religion, families, all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a very positive lean towards Nepal in all of its aspects, across the United States. And I'm so thrilled as I move on to my next job that I can, figure out ways in which to enhance that and support that from beyond my current position.
Are you able to tell us what you're going to do next, or is it something you don't wish to share?
Yeah, of course. So I'll be leaving to go back for a little bit of time with my family out in the mountains of Colorado.
Oh, wow.
After that, I'll be heading on once the Senate confirms my nomination to be the next U.S. ambassador to the Republic of Namibia.
Right.
So heading back to Southern Africa, where I also have some roots, and really happy to have the chance to do the world's greatest job a second time.
Wow, we are very excited for you also in that regard.
Thank you.
While we were talking earlier, you said climate change is something that's very close to your heart and you'll be working on it no matter where you are. Looking at the condition of Kathmandu or overall Nepal right now, what would you suggest, or what are the ways that we could take to move forward, to be a bit eco-friendly and to make this Mother Earth a bit better place to live in?
When I was up traveling in Lake Rara with my counterparts from Australia and the UK, we had a lot of time to talk about not only the vulnerabilities, but the mitigation steps that we can go through. One thing is clear to me is that no single country is going to be able to tackle this on their own. It's a global problem. It doesn't respect borders. So what you need is a global solution. So I think the events like the COP26, COP27 coming up are vitally important to marry up those resources from, I think, some of the world's bigger polluters with the great need that exists in a lot of the places where there's a relatively low commitment to the problem, but a great consequence that's being dealt to them. So I think that conversation is vitally important. So we have to get this right. We don't get a second chance on this particular issue. So I think it affects us all in various ways, but living here, I've had really the opportunity to see that in extreme high altitude or mountain communities, that the impacts are in fact magnified. I'm from the mountains of Colorado. We experience the same thing of these enormous distortions of rainfall patterns or temperature, which when you have a very short growing season also distorts some of the basic building blocks of life as well. I really want to continue to work on mitigation and a solution to this issue.
So, Excellency, now it's almost time to end our beautiful conversation. But before, sorry that I will have a last question, but I want to ask, I'll take you away from as a Excellency, I'll bring you back to a normal, regular person. What does Randy Berry normally do on a given day when he is not active being an ambassador, His Excellency, ambassador to Nepal?
Thank you. Well, my first name isn't Ambassador. In fact, it is Randy.
Of course.
So I like that personal sort of aspect.
Right.
But when I have a free day, I do try to spend it with my family. I have two young children who have spent almost half their life growing up here in Nepal, and I think this will be a big transition for them as well.
Right.
But I also have a great love of reading books, science fiction in particular. I'm a great fan of music as well. I'm a huge proponent of fitness, especially when you're a guy like me over 50, for whom that's a little bit harder.
You're looking good, by the way. You're looking
Thank
good.
you. But you got to continue to do that because I think it keeps you mentally and physically strong.
Right. Fantastic.
Before saying bye, I just wanted to ask this. Does any place here in Nepal remind you of back home, Colorado?
There are shades of that. So traveling up beyond Jomsom reminds me very much of where I'm from in the U.S. The one difference being is that my experience in Nepal has caused me to redefine what a mountain looks like.
Yeah.
So it reminds me, but in multiples of scale as well. So it's been an absolute pleasure.
Your Excellency, from my side, I want to just thank you from my side for coming to the show this morning, and Sarita will take over.
I would like to thank you from entire Nepal's side for giving us such a wonderful ambassador, for your tenure, for being such a wonderful human being. And we wish you all the best for your tenure, and hopefully we'll get connected. Nepal and Nepalese will be connected with you. Again, once again, thank you so much for your time.
We do have a token.
Thank you.
Memento for you.
This is little something from our show. Tabai aunu bhayo, हामी danga
Danga
paryo.
paryo.
That means you're here, we're happy.
You made us very happy.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Namaste.
हाम्रा पाहुनासँगको कुराकानी सँगसँगै अहिले एउटा छोटो ब्रेक लिने बेला भएको छ. ब्रेकपछि समीर र म हामी फेरि आउँछौँ नै. हस् त, अहिले पनि एउटा छोटो ब्रेक. थ्याङ्क यू.